Go pee on the ground, then use it as a mirror to look at yourself. Beware. When someone Chinese says this, it's not a friendly joke, but a harsh reminder to take a hard look at who you really are. In fact, if I say this to a man, I'm clearly fobbing him off, saying, "Look, I'm out of your league. I'm too good for you. Why don't you take a look at yourself?" To tell someone to pee on the ground and mirror himself is a crude but powerful way of saying, examine your true appearance and your real worth. However, the ancient Chinese Daoist philosopher Zhuangzi also advised us to be a mirror, not as an insult, but as profound life wisdom. So today, let's explore how being a mirror can help us navigate the complexities of modern life and relationships. A few days ago, an old college friend of mine, let's call him Joe called me out of the blue to talk about his recent dating frustrations with a girl named King. He shared several stories and admitted that he suspected he might be experiencing PUA tactics. For context, Joe is genuinely one of the nicest people I know. He is decent, polite, and always tries to act like a gentleman. He only dates one woman at a time. He pays for dates, plans trips, and takes care of the woman he is seeing. So when he mentioned gaslighting, I was honestly shocked. How could this be happening to him? Joe and King had planned to spend Thanksgiving together, but she cancelled, saying she wasn't going out. Later, Joe discovered that she actually went out with another man. Joe was upset. But instead of apologizing, King claimed it was his understanding issue. What happened next was even stranger. My friend didn't get angry at all. Instead, he calmly acknowledged that he might indeed have difficulty reading the room, something he had already noticed at work. He said, "So maybe I do have an understanding issue." King was left speechless. After a pause, she apologized. "I'm sorry," she said. Joe asked, "Why are you apologizing?" She was choked. King then replied, "Because I was basically calling you dumb." She laughed out and explained that, to her, saying someone has an understanding issue was literally saying they're dumb. Well, Joe later told me that he didn't even get why she apologized. He hadn't felt offended at all. Ha ha ha. I laughed and said, "Based on how you handle this, you really do live up to your so-called understanding issue." Honestly, I never expected the conversation to end this way. I had worried for him, yet he walked away neither getting hurt nor hurting the other person. What an unexpected outcome, I concluded. She found you so kind that she didn't even want to hurt you. Joe replied, "Maybe this is what we call the silly one has their silly merits." From the bottom of my heart, I don't think Joe is dumb at all. I think this is great wisdom that can look foolish on the surface. This is exactly what Zhuangzi once said. The perfect man uses his mind like a mirror, going after nothing, welcoming nothing, responding but not storing. Therefore, he can win out over things and not hurt himself. By being the mirror, we first become able to honestly reflect on ourselves. Just as how Joe disarmed the girl's accusation, instead of defending himself, he reflected inward and admitted, "Yes, I do have this weakness. I have noticed these traits in my own personality. So what about it?" When faced with criticism, he acknowledged what truly belonged to him and calmly rejected what did not. As a result, he neither magnified the attack by taking on blame that was not his, nor did he conceal a part of his true personality. He simply allowed the other person to see him as he is. Accept it or not, this is me. He achieved this not by throwing anger back to hurt the other, nor by evading his true self to pretend to be perfect. His radical honesty, in return, led to an apology from the girl. By acting as a pure mirror, he came to understand her better and allowed her to understand him better as well. A genuine, mutually frank connection emerged. Secondly, being a mirror provides us the ability of insensitivity, which further protects us from external harm. Joe confessed the second story to verify his dumbness. He genuinely cannot read the room at his job and often misses subtle social cues. Because of this, when someone tries to attack him with passive-aggressive remarks, he simply doesn't register the insult. He doesn't overthink. He doesn't internally consume himself. The consequence is profound. Attackers seek validation and a sense of achievement from the victim's self-doubt, frustration, or anger. When they meet someone like Joe, who has no emotional reaction, they feel like they're punching cotton. Their attack yields nothing. Their aggression dissolves. The hostility simply becomes neutralized by this protective insensitivity. The person being attacked remains unharmed, and the attacker finds no way to continue the assault. Third, being a mirror allows us to clearly reflect the mentality of others, saying that attacks, criticism, and accusations often reflect the attacker's own history, not our reality. In this sense, we become a mirror of others. Here is another story from Joe and Kim. One day, Joe brought 2 bottles of water for a trip. Kim refused, saying she had never drank water. Joe noted this habit before and gently suggested, "You should drink more water." She refused again and explained that, as a family tradition, her parents also never drank water. Joe didn't quite get it, but with good intentions, he said, "Just try." That single sentence triggered an explosion. Kim instantly darkened her expression and snapped, "Why are you being so rude?" Joe explained that he hadn't meant to be rude at all, and that his comment came only from concern for her health. The date ended in embarrassment and discomfort. A few days later, Kim explained that her parents used to commend her in exactly that tone. As bystanders, we can clearly see that Kim's accusation did not truly reflect Joe. Just as he always checks himself first with comments like, "You are dumb," or "You are rude," Joe asked himself, "Am I really rude? No, I'm acting courteously, with care and good intentions toward a friend." The moment we reach this part of the story, I suggested it must be rooted in the girl's childhood experience. Joe said, "Wow, exactly. It's from how she was treated by her parents." She later admitted it and told me her childhood stories. Kim was raised under immense parental expectations that define success, wealth, and even what a perfect marriage should look like. As a result, she grew up unable to accept imperfection in herself. She feels she must be successful, wealthy, dating an A+ man with a flawless image, and in control of every detail of her life, even something as small as what she drinks. As she repeatedly emphasized, "I am a perfectionist." In reality, Kim is living a life shaped by her parents' expectations, not her own. What she hasn't yet realized is that, This invisible psychological cage has created a deep fear of losing control. Her dislike wasn't about Zhou's action, as she admitted. She was simply repulsed by the way her parents once treated her, especially the phrase, "Try, it is all for your good." Zhou was never the problem. In that moment, he was nothing more than a mirror, quietly reflecting her unresolved past. A poor girl who has never been treated by true kindness, I concluded. Guess what Zhou said? He told me, once I realized that, I was no longer mad at her. She is not a bad girl. We are just not suited for each other. In the end, Zhou believed that staying friends would be a better option. Regardless of the name, pick-up artist tactics, gaslighting, push and pull dynamics, blame shifting, or emotional manipulation. These patterns are not limited to romantic relationships. They appear everywhere, in families, friendships, and even in the workplace. And if we're honest, all of us have used these toxic patterns at some point. Think about it. When we refuse to take responsibility, when we blame everything on someone else, when we project our past experiences onto others, or when we interact with people simply to get something from them. Here, Zhuangzi offers a way out, a fundamentally different approach to breaking free from these toxic patterns in relationships. When we face unfounded accusations from others, we do not throw anger back and escalate the tension. We do not doubt ourselves and end up hurting ourselves. Nor do we run away just to suffer alone. Instead, we face the situation calmly. We acknowledge our own weaknesses, remain emotionally steady, and seek to understand the mentality behind the other person's behavior. By using ourselves as a mirror, we see the world more clearly, and in doing so, we remain grounded in peace and joy. In the end, we have to understand this. In any healthy and loving relationship, whether it's with family, friends, or a partner, people choose to accept and love us, even after they see our weaknesses. They are willing to embrace an incomplete, vulnerable, and not so perfect version of us. Some people, however, cannot accept imperfection, neither in themselves nor in others. Like the girl, King, her discomfort with imperfection reflects an inner imbalance. In other words, she hasn't made peace with who she is. She lacks the ability to get along with herself, and without that inner harmony, it becomes impossible to make room for an imperfect other in her life. But who is perfect? Every person in this world is human, and to be human is to be imperfect. We're born perfectly imperfect, or if we prefer, we're imperfectly perfect. Once we truly understand this, we begin to accept the imperfections of our parents. We meet an imperfect partner. Our friends are imperfect, and our children will never be perfect either. And that's okay. Because life is not about becoming perfect. It's about learning to accept our imperfect selves. When we know who we are and accept who we are, something changes. When I can honestly recognize and accept my own flaws, as well as those of my family and friends, with sincerity, openness, tolerance, and compassion, that is the moment I begin to take on real responsibility. Only when I'm able to carry my own responsibility can I genuinely support the ones I love. Of course, life does not always go the way we wish. Things happen and people come and go. If, within a relationship, someone continues to gaslight us, we may need to look deeper through what Zhuangzi called going after nothing, welcoming nothing. This means we do not deny the problem, nor do we simply turn our backs on the relationship. At the same time, we do not chase it, cling to it, or try to hold it together by force. We cannot just run away from the relationship. Yes, walking away can sometimes be the last resort, and it can be very effective. But leaving one relationship does not mean we can escape every single relationship in our lives. Avoidance may work for a moment, but as it is said, you may escape once, but fate will keep presenting you with the same test until you finally pass it. Meanwhile, we don't chase it. That means, instead of blindly binding ourselves to another person, we turn inward and ask a deeper question. Why am I so attached to this person? We begin to examine the root of our emotional attachments. Is it physical attraction, her appearance, her body? Is it his stable job, his status, or his money? Or is it the emotional comfort and validation they provide, the emotional value they give us? Once we clearly understand why we are attached, we can then find a way to respond wisely, to address and regulate that attachment, rather than being controlled by it. As the French philosopher and playwright Jean-Paul Sartre once wrote in his play No Exit, "L'enfer c'est les autres, hell is other people." When I obsessed over my appearance, the mirror grows thorns. When I take sleep too seriously, the night becomes a battlefield. When I replay my regrets again and again, memories turn into scars. When I chew on my thoughts endlessly, my mind becomes a prison. When I value success too much, my steps become shackles. And when I care excessively about how others judge me, other people become hell. What I resist persists. What I accept dissolves. The tighter I grasp, the more I imprison myself. Holding too tightly to an obsession is where inner exhaustion begins. Until one day, I finally realized this. I am a mirror. I reflect the world exactly as I truly am. I go after nothing, I welcome nothing, I respond, but I do not hold on. And because of that, the world cannot wound me. True inner strength is not about controlling everything, but is about facing uncertainty with honesty, and still moving forward calmly. When I follow the way, the sincere peace and joy that arise from my heart naturally spreads to those around me, like a small sun, quietly lighting up everyone nearby. This is exactly what my friend did, and that's how he inspired me. I'm happy to share this with you too, my friend.